$350 billion went out the door in commitments in the first few weeks while Henry Paulson was still Secretary of the Treasury. And it went out on terms that said, take our money, please. No restrictions, no limitations on how to spend it. Just, we're going to give it to the financial institutions and trust you to do what you think is the right thing with it. Basically, our panel kind of did the metaphoric, jumped up and down and pulled our hair out and screamed and threw things and kept talking about transparency, accountability, clarity in the government program. And by golly, we get what I think of as Treasury 2. Secretary Geithner comes in, and let's face it, he starts in a deep hole as a consequence of this, both financially and kind of in terms of confidence. And look, they're more transparent than they were before. The programs are, online. They've explained more of them. There's somewhat more accountability, more restrictions on how the money's going to be spent. He divided it up among different programs. He's still holding $110 billion in reserve. And there's a little more clarity, around what the pieces are. What I do is I keep standing out there saying, hey guys, you got to be clearer about this. We got to see what's going on. We got to believe these numbers. You've got to show us things that are true and accurate. So I keep pounding on the table for that. You got to make these folks accountable on a regular basis. You can't just give money away and hope that it goes in the directions we thought. And you really got to explain more about the programs. You've got to explain and put in some metrics in place so that we can see if you're making it from point A to point B to point Z. So we stand out there, and frankly, the job is we keep pushing. And if we push them a foot, then I just move forward a foot and try to push them a foot further. Basically, what we have so far is about $590 billion has come out of TARP, which is the amount that Congress put there.
Congressionally authorized fund.
Fed, remember.
That's the magic money.
Fed is the magic money.
That's the printing money.
And we think we're in the neighborhood of about $4.2 trillion.
Whoa! Wait a minute. The hair's just that's a headline.
No, I don't mean to do new headlines. I'm trying to do. Actually, these are numbers that I think, unless I got them wrong, these are numbers that came from Borofsky. And you're now scaring me when you give me this
I think
face.
that's not widely known, and I think possibly it's because of the media coverage, and possibly it's because of the way this information comes out. But that's really important,
right? Well, and let me say it this way: this is one of the things that people have worried a lot about. On the Fed end of it, that's taking the biggest version of the number. On the Fed end of it, it's a lot of guarantees. It's not just money that's been spent, money that's been infused into programs. A lot of the Fed is total commitment money. That may be part of the reason we get very different numbers on how much Fed money is in here, because it depends on whether you want to add up all guarantees or you want to talk about real dollars that have already gone out the door. We've got 117 million American families across this country. A lot of them are struggling. This is America. This is America's economy. We got to have a banking system. I completely get that. We're not going to go back to bartering pigs for haircuts. That's not going to work here. We got to have a banking system, though, to serve 117 million American families, to serve this economy. We've got all our attention focused on this tiny little piece up at the top. Tiny little piece, but a tiny little piece that's absorbing literally trillions of dollars. Indeed, we're taxing the people at the bottom to send this money up to the top. This isn't trickle down. This is trickle up. Does that even work? And so I think you have put the most profound question on the table. Ultimately, we got to talk about how we're spending our money to get these families back upright, how we're spending our money to have decent jobs and wages that grow, and we got to fix this unemployment problem. We got to do something about the fact that the housing market has just completely fallen off the edge. And that doesn't just matter for troubled assets. That matters family by family on whether or not you're going to hang on to a place to live. So for me, yeah, I'm spending my time up here because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. But where it all really matters is in the broad part down at the bottom.
One more question, Elizabeth, for the
Sure.
web only. Two things that you said over there. First of all, of course, your book, The Two-Income Trap, you wrote with your daughter. Do mothers and daughters typically run the numbers on their incomes in the way that you had? Yeah? You don't have to be professors to do that?
You don't have to be professors to do that.
And you mentioned in the interview that you haven't held a public office since 7th grade.
I think that's right.
Where you had elective office.
That's right.
Do you remember what you actually ran for and won?
I think that's right. I think that I was the treasurer of the student council.
Well, there you go.
There we go.